Okay, I've made a little more progress in this American Flyer project here, and what I've made a new front pilot truck assembly here. It's as original, new wheels, new arms, everything that was missing. I came up with. I made the flag stanchions for the front of the pilot. There's two trim pieces, a whistle and probably a steam valve, whatever you want to call it, and then I also made the new bezel for the headlamp. So that's where that stands for now. Okay, it's really nice outside today, and I thought I'd take advantage of the really good mild temperature and low humidity to see if I could get a coat of paint on this American Flyer train of mine. And what I've done so far, I've taken the pieces and I did the media blast to them and got all the old paint off and made a surface that's really good to accept paint. And right now I've got a primer coat on them, and in a few minutes here I'm going to get some black and give them a little spray with my airbrush. Now I use Rust-Oleum 7777 satin black, and I buy it in a quart can and mix it. And I found that to be a real good match to these earlier steam engines, even the Lionel steam engine. It's a really good match to it. So I've been using that. I know some people use the Krylon, and quite honestly, I've never tried that out of a can. But I found that especially for the Rust-Oleum type, there's like semi-gloss blacks are too glossy. They don't produce the results I'm looking for. So one of these days I'm going to get a can of the Krylon and give that a shot, so I can be fair about my comments. Okay, what I'm using to paint this train is I use a Pasha dual action airbrush. It's a VL series, and I use it's Painter's Touch Rust-Oleum Satin Black 7777, and it seems to work great for this for the color match on these old steamers. What I use is today, given the temperature, I'm using naphtha, and I've thinned this about 50% reduction, 1 part paint and half part thinner, and that seems to work pretty good. And I shoot it at about 40 psi. It seems no matter how hard you try, you always miss some spot, but I think I've got good coverage on this. This will be the last coat of color on the steam chest here. I like to go with a nice wet double coat. Seems to allow the paint to flow out rather well. And that should about do it. Okay, I got a chance to do a little more work on this American Flyer 1681 steamer project I've been working on, and I've got the engine shell here. It's all been painted. I put most of the trim detail back on. I had to make a couple pieces that were missing, and I'm going to be getting ready pretty soon to start a little bit of reassembly, see if I can get the motor in and actually finish up on this thing. Got the white stripe painted and the window details painted in red. I've got the hook and tab coupler attached to the front steam chest with the new stanchions for the flag staff, so that's put in. I'm going to start shortly. I'm going to put the guides for the side rods in to the steam chest, and so far so good. There's not all that much to do. I've got to polish some of the metal pieces and get a little bit of the tarnish off them, although the tarnish wasn't too bad. Got the some of the back pieces installed for the firebox glow feature on this, and I've got the rear motor support polished up and installed, and the front headlight is installed. So little by little it's coming along. Okay, I finished up the restoration of this American Flyer 1681 engine. I have it here paired with the cast tender that I had restored at an earlier date. The cast tender, that was available in 1937 or later, and I think there was two different versions. One had the green and yellow American Flyer Lines decal that you see here, and the other version had it was a white lettered decal, similar, and it's a real nice tender. Now this train I have here, this is a later version, probably 1937 or later, and this has the full complement of side rods. It also has the trailing truck with two wheels in it, and the earlier version had only one wheel. It only had the rear wheel, and this also has the little stud to mount the tender. It has it attached to the back of the boiler casting, whereas on the other version the stud was actually attached to the trailing truck and the tender hooked on there. These engines were available at the same time the Lionel had out their 260 engine, and I'll tell you, for all intents and purposes, this is every bit as nice as the 260. This has the Firebox glow feature that the Lionel had, and like I say, for all intents and purposes, it's a nice engine, as nice as anything Lionel put out at the time. Now this particular version here, if you look, I hope you can see it, this has the brush holders for the armature that protrude through the side of the casting. The other ones did not have that. The brush holders didn't come through the casting like that. This also has the reverse unit that sits in front of the motor. There was another version that had the it was a drum type reverser that sat behind the motor, and there's some slight modifications to the casting that accommodated that. Now the only thing I don't like about this engine is the reverser, and although it works, it's not the most reliable thing ever. It works sort of like the Scout type reversers in the Lionel, if you're familiar with that, in that the top of the armature is hinged, or I'm sorry, the top of the field laminations are hinged, and when you apply power to the motor, the lamination is drawn down through magnetic force, and what that does is it activates the pendulum type reverser through a mechanism, and it shuttles it back and forth every time you put the power on and then cycle it off. And then there's a lockout lever that you can defeat that function. So as far as that goes, although the reversing isn't real important to me on these engines, I just tend to run them forward only. But the reverser was a sort of a sore point on this. If you've ever played around with any American Flyer engines, they've had some real amazing reversing units that worked off like a cam gear on the side, and although they were genius designs, to be sure, they worked sketchy at best sometimes, and a lot of times they're just real hard to even get to work at all. But in any case, all in all, this is a real nice train, and I'm happy to have it. I have one of the earlier versions with some of the differences I've described, and it runs great, and this one runs great, and the thing I like about this the best is that cast tender. It's just a nice massive piece with 6-wheel trucks on it, and it looks good. So in a couple minutes, what I'm going to do is hook up a couple cars to this thing and then send it around the layout.